Examination of conscience.
The 10 Commandments. 1. First Commandment, I am the Lord your God. You shall worship the Lord your God, and him only shall you serve.
Have I disobeyed the commandments of God or the Church? Refused to accept what God has revealed as true, or what the Catholic Church proposes for belief? Denied the existence of God? Nourished and protected my faith? Rejected everything opposed to a sound faith? Deliberately misled others about doctrine or the faith? Rejected the Catholic faith, joined another Christian denomination, or joined or practiced another religion? Joined a group forbidden to Catholics, Masons, Communists, and so on? Despaired about my salvation or the forgiveness of my sins? Presumed on God's mercy? Committing a sin in expectation of forgiveness, or asking for forgiveness without conversion and practicing virtue? Loved someone or something more than God, money, power, sex, ambition, and so on? Let someone or something influence my choices more than God? Engaged in superstitious practices? Inking, horoscopes, fortune tellers, and so on. Been involved in the occult? Seances, Ouija board, worship of Satan, and so on. Formally left the Catholic Church? Hidden a serious sin or told a lie in confession?
2. Second Commandment, you shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain.
Have I used the name of God in cursing or blasphemy? Failed to keep vows or promised that I have made to God? Spoken about the faith, the Church, the saints, or sacred things with irreverence, hatred or defiance? Watched television or movies, or listened to music that treated God, the Church, the saints, or sacred things irreverently? Used vulgar, suggestive or obscene speech? Belittled others in my speech? Behaved disrespectfully in church? Misused places or things set apart for the worship of God? Committed perjury? Breaking an oath or lying under oath, blamed God for my failings?
3. Third Commandment, remember to keep holy the Sabbath day.
Have I set time aside each day for personal prayer to God? Missed Mass on Sunday or holy days, through own fault sufficient reason? Committed a sacrilege against the Blessed Sacrament? Received a sacrament while in the state of mortal sin? Habitually come late to and or leave early from Mass without a good reason? Shop, labor, or do business unnecessarily on Sunday or other holy days of obligation? Not attend to taking my children to Mass? Knowingly eat meat on a forbidden day, or not fasting on a fast day? Eat or drink within 1 hour of receiving communion, other than medical need?
4. Fourth Commandment, honor your father and your mother.
Have I, if still under my parents' care, obeyed all that my parents reasonably asked of me? Neglected the needs of my parents in their old age or in their time of need? If still in school, obeyed the reasonable demands of my teachers? Neglected to give my children proper food, clothing, shelter, education, discipline and care, even after confirmation? Provided for the religious education and formation of my children for as long as they are under my care? Ensured that my children still under my care regularly frequent the sacraments of penance and Holy Communion? educated my children in a way that corresponds to my religious convictions, provided my children with a positive, prudent and personalized education in the Catholic teaching on human sexuality, been to my children a good example of how to live the Catholic faith, prayed with and for my children, lived in humble obedience to those who legitimately exercise authority over me, broken the law, supported or voted for a politician whose positions are opposed to the teachings of Christ and the Catholic Church.
5. Fifth Commandment, you shall not kill.
Have I unjustly and intentionally killed a human being? Been involved in an abortion, directly or indirectly, through advice, and so on? Seriously considered or attempted suicide? Supported, promoted or encouraged the practice of assisted suicide or mercy killing? Deliberately desired to kill an innocent human being? Unjustly inflicted bodily harm on another person? Unjustly threatened another person with bodily harm? Verbally or emotionally abused another person? Hated another person, or wished him evil? Been prejudiced, or unjustly discriminated against others because of their race, color, nationality, sex or religion? Joined a hate group? Purposely provoked another by teasing or nagging? Recklessly endangered my life or health, or that of another, by my actions? Driven recklessly or under the influence of alcohol or other drugs? Abused alcohol or other drugs? Sold or given drugs to others to use for non-therapeutic purposes? Used tobacco immoderately? Overeaten? Encouraged others to sin by giving scandal? Helped another to commit a mortal sin, through advice, driving them somewhere, and so on? Caused serious injury or death by criminal neglect? Indulged in serious anger? Refused to control my temper? Been mean to, quarreled with, or willfully hurt someone? Been unforgiving to others, when mercy or pardon was requested? Sought revenge or hoped something bad would happen to someone? Delighted to see someone else get hurt or suffer? Treated animals cruelly, causing them to suffer or die needlessly?
6. Sixth and ninth Commandments, you shall not commit adultery. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife.
Have I practiced the virtue of chastity? Given into lust? The desire for sexual pleasure unrelated to spousal love in marriage? Used an artificial means of birth control? Refused to be open to conception, without just cause? Participated in immoral techniques for in vitro fertilization or artificial insemination? Sterilized my sex organs for contraceptive purposes? Deprived my spouse of the marital right, without just cause? Claimed my own marital right without concern for my spouse? Deliberately caused male climax outside of normal sexual intercourse? Willfully entertained impure thoughts? Purchased, viewed, or made use of pornography? Watched movies and television that involve sex and nudity? Listened to music or jokes that are harmful to purity? Committed adultery? Sexual relations with someone who is married, or with someone other than my spouse? Committed incest? Sexual relations with a relative or in-law? Committed fornication? Sexual relations with someone of the opposite sex when neither of us is married? Engaged in homosexual activity? Sexual activity with someone of the same sex? Committed rape? masturbated, deliberate stimulation of one's own sexual organs for sexual pleasure, engaged in sexual foreplay, betting, reserved for marriage. Preyed upon children or youth for my sexual pleasure, engaged in unnatural sexual activities, engaged in prostitution, or paid for the services of a prostitute, seduced someone, or allowed myself to be seduced, made uninvited and unwelcome sexual advances toward another, purposely dressed immodestly.
7. Seventh and 10th Commandments, You shall not steal. You shall not covet your neighbor's goods.
Have I stolen? Take something that doesn't belong to me against the reasonable will of the owner, envied others on account of their possessions? Tried to live in a spirit of gospel poverty and simplicity? Given generously to others in need? Considered that God has provided me with money so that I might use it to benefit others, as well as for my own legitimate needs? Freed myself from a consumer mentality? Practiced the works of mercy? Deliberately defaced, destroyed or lost another's property? Cheated on a test, taxes, sports, games, or in business? Squandered money in compulsive gambling? Make a false claim to an insurance company? Paid my employees a living wage, or failed to give a full day's work for a full day's pay? Failed to honor my part of a contract? Failed to make good on a debt? Overcharge someone, especially to take advantage of another's hardship or ignorance? Misused natural resources?
8. 8th Commandment, You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor.
Have I lied? Knowingly and willfully deceived another? Perjured myself under oath? Gossiped? Committed detraction? Destroying a person's reputation by telling others about his faults for no good reason? Committed slander or calumny? Telling lies about another person in order to destroy his reputation? Committed libel? Writing lies about another person in order to destroy his reputation? Been guilty of rash judgment? Assuming the worst of another person based on circumstantial evidence? Failed to make reparation for a lie told, or for harm done to a person's reputation? Failed to speak out in defense of the Catholic faith, the Church, or of another person? Betrayed another's confidence through speech?
The Precepts of the Church. 1. First Precept, You shall attend Mass on Sunday and holy days of obligation.
The same as the third commandment.
2. Second Precept, You shall confess your sins at least once a year.
Have I made a good confession of my mortal sins at least once a year? Purposely omitted telling my mortal sins in my last confession? Performed the penance I was given? Made reparation for any harm I have done to others?
3. Third Precept, You shall humbly receive your Creator in Holy Communion at least during the Easter season.
Have I fulfilled my Easter duty to receive Holy Communion at least once between the first Sunday of Lent and Trinity Sunday? Received Holy Communion while in the state of mortal sin? Fasted an hour before receiving Holy Communion? Received Holy Communion more than twice in one day?
4. Fourth Precept, You shall keep holy the holy days of obligation.
the same as the third commandment.
5. Fifth precept, you shall observe the prescribed days of fasting and abstinence.
Have I done penance every Friday, if not abstaining from meat, then some other form of penance? Abstained from meat on Ash Wednesday and the Fridays of Lent, if I am 14 years of age or older? Fasted on Ash Wednesday and Good Friday, if I am between the ages of 18 and 59? Spent time in prayer, doing spiritual and corporal works of mercy, and practicing self-denial.
6. Sixth precept, you shall contribute to the support of the church.
Have I contributed a just amount of my time, talents and money to support my parish and the work of the church?
7. Seventh precept, you shall observe the laws of the church concerning marriage.
Have I been living in a valid and licit marriage according to the laws of the Catholic Church? Abandoned my spouse and family by separation or divorce? Kept company with someone whom I cannot marry in the Catholic Church? Given scandal by living with a member of the opposite sex without the benefit of a marriage blessed by the Catholic Church? Entered into marriage with more than one person at the same time?
The 7 deadly sins. 1. Pride, the inordinate love of self, a superconfidence and high esteem in your own abilities, also known as vanity. Pride fools you into thinking that you're the source of your own greatness. Liking yourself isn't sinful. In fact, it's healthy and necessary, but when the self-perception no longer conforms to reality, and you begin to think that you're more important than you actually are, the sin of pride is rearing its ugly head. Pride is the key to all other sins, because after you believe that you're more important than you actually are, you compensate for it when others don't agree with your judgment. You rationalize your behavior and make excuses for lying, cheating, stealing, insulting, ignoring, and such, because no one understands you like you do. In your mind, you're underestimated by the world. Humility is the best remedy for pride. Catholicism regards humility as recognizing that talent is really a gift from God. 2. Envy, resenting another person's good fortune or joy. Catholicism distinguishes between 2 kinds of envy. Material envy is when you resent others who have more money, talent, strength, beauty, friends, and so on, than you do. Spiritual envy is resenting others who progress in holiness, preferring that they stay at or below your level instead of being joyful and happy that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Spiritual envy is far worse and more evil than material envy. The Church maintains that meekness or kindness can counter envy. 3. Lust, looking at, imagining, and treating others as mere sex objects to serve your own physical pleasures, rather than as individuals made in the image and likeness of God. The Catholic Church believes that it's normal and healthy to be attracted to and to appreciate the opposite sex. That's not lust and it's not considered a sin. Chastity, the virtue that moderates sexual desire, is the best remedy for lust. Chastity falls under temperance and can help to keep physical pleasure in moderation. 4. Anger, the sudden outburst of emotion, namely hostility, and thoughts about the desire for revenge. You have no control over what angers you, but you do have control over what you do after you become angry. Even if someone does you wrong, robs you, for example, to avoid the sin of anger, you don't go after the thief yourself. You desire for the police to catch the thief and for a court to sentence her to a fair punishment. Patience, the virtue that allows you to adapt and endure evil without harboring any destructive feelings, is the best countermeasure for anger. 5. Gluttony, choosing to overconsume food or alcohol. Enjoying a delightful dinner isn't sinful, but intentionally overeating to the point where you literally get sick to your stomach is. So, too, having an alcoholic beverage now and then, provided that you don't suffer from alcoholism, is not sinful in the eyes of the Church. But drinking to the point of drunkenness is. Legitimate eating disorders, such as anorexia, treatment and care. Gluttony is voluntary and merely requires self-control and moderation. Periodic fasting, restricting the amount of food you eat, and abstinence, avoiding meat or some favorite food, are the best defenses against gluttony. 6. Greed, the inordinate love of and desire for earthly possessions. Amassing a fortune and trying to accumulate the most stuff is greed, sometimes called avarice. Next to anger, envy, and lust, more crimes have been committed due to greed than any other deadly sin. Generosity is the best weapon against greed. Freely giving some of your possessions away, especially to those less fortunate, is considered the perfect antithesis to greed and avarice. 7. Sloth, sometimes called acedia, is laziness, particularly when it concerns prayer and spiritual life. Sloth is always wanting to rest and relax, with no desire or intention of making a sacrifice or doing something for others. It's an aversion to work, physical, mental, and spiritual. The Church says that the evil habit of being inattentive at religious worship services and being careless in fulfilling your religious duties is also a sin of sloth.